Hi there, I'm Valerie Milano from the Hollywood Times, and we have our guest here, and I'll let him introduce himself, please.
Hi, my name is Sparky Tehnsuko. I'm a writer-director, and my latest short film is called Villain, and it's currently on the festival circuit.
Yes, it is. And where am I talking to you? Where are you right now?
I'm at home, which is in Maidenhead, UK. It's close enough to London, so yeah, near enough to London.
Yeah, we've had a little difficult time being able to get our timing worked out to because it's morning here, and what time is it there?
Good. What time is it here? It's 6:30 p.m. here.
PM. Okay. Well, thank you for taking the time and giving the Hollywood Times the time
No
to
worries.
speak to you about your wonderful film. I appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
Yay. Okay. Yeah, the name of the film is Villain, and there's no dialogue, just images. And
Mhm.
it's quite thrilling. It's kind of like a Game of Thrones vibe. And so we're going to talk to Sparky a little bit about it. The orphan girl fancies herself a hero, and but the little girl in the film, in the dragon's lair, let me turn all these things off, doesn't see her that way, does she?
No, so the title is kind of a play on perspective of trauma, um, because effectively it starts with the there's obviously no speech, so they can't say the characters' names, but we did make names for them, and they're in the credits. So we've got Bella Ramsey as the lead, playing Georgia, and then we've also got Isla Guy as the smaller girl, playing Sabra, we called her. So at the beginning of the film, Georgia is basically devastated by the violent death of her mother, and her home is burned down, and she very unwisely decides that revenge is the thing that she needs to do. But then when she finds little Sabra in the dragon's cave, then she thinks that the best thing for every eventuality would be to rescue this little girl from the terrible thing that is responsible for so much bad in her life. But then she realizes, with quite a lot of jealousy, that the little girl and the dragon actually appreciate each other, and they don't have any regard for her, and that just makes her lash out in ways that she hadn't imagined to.
So the little girl in the cave, she's not is she a prisoner of the dragon, or is she a ward or a spoil of war to the dragon?
Well, this is a bit where I always actually like for people to make their own
Okay.
interpretations of
Gotcha.
it, because I do have a really specific kind of answer to that, but I'd rather people figure that part out for themselves. They can either take, I've heard lots of people give me an answer to that when I said, "What do you think the little girl is to her?" Blah, blah, blah. And some people get it exactly as I imagined it on paper, and some people come up with new things, and I think, no, that's not what I imagined, but that's a really good way to look at it. Yeah, so I don't want to put, as much as it is my film, I don't want to stop people from interpreting it in whatever way they're going to interpret it.
Well, then some of my questions might be redundant. They may be something you want me to answer myself, but I'm going to still throw it out there.
Sure.
Um, is her revulsion at the orphan slaying of the dragon a product of affection for the beast, or um, for the beast, or fear, of the older girl that she might be next to being harmed?
Basically, both of those, yeah. So we see from throughout the short that Sabra doesn't have any fear of the dragon. In fact, she like smiles and is pleased when he returns to her cave first. So they have a seemingly good relationship. There's no fear from her to him, and that's what Georgia realizes in that when Sabra does have absolute fear of her, she realizes that effectively she is to the little girl what the dragon was to her.
Right.
So,
It's a beautiful film, and your actors are quite amazing. I've seen her in a lot of things, and congratulations. Yeah, you
they're
did a great job.
both incredible. I know it's obvious to say that Bella Ramsey is incredible, but I also want to give a lot of shout outs to Isla Guy as well, who this was her first screen role, and she's gone on to
Really?
have parts in say The Sandman and Offenders, and she's going to be in Foundation, and I know that she's got the lead with Martin Freeman co-starring in a Netflix series based on a series of books that I've forgotten the name of at the moment, but I'm so excited for her. But yeah,
Oh,
obviously for Bella as well, who has done incredible things with the character of Ellie in The Last of Us, and
fantastic.
films like Catherine Called Birdie and everything else they've got going on for them at the moment. Like, it's an incredible time to be watching both of these actors
Busy
rise.
young lady.
Mm.
Is this about perspective, how we see ourselves might be our truth, but for others it might be the polar opposite?
Exactly that. Like I say, I like to think of this film as a perspective of trauma. And as we kind of covered before, there's the way that who sees who as bad in the world based on just the things that they've experienced. So there's one girl who has only experienced bad from this creature, and then there's
Mhm.
another girl who has only experienced good from this creature, and so they both have entirely different perspectives of it, and then that ruins their own chance at having a relationship like be amicable
Yeah.
between themselves.
Sparky, it's a bold choice to make this film without dialogue. It seems like even a few words, from the older girl might have quieted the young child's fears. Was that always the plan, to forego dialogue, or did it evolve from the powerful imagery you shot?
To be honest, it was there was actually less reduction of dialogue than anyone generally thinks, because when it was in its first stage as a script, it actually only had one word of dialogue in it, which was just the word no. And that was when the dragon returns home, and the little girl runs to try and greet it, and she's stopped by Bella's character, who now doesn't say anything, but in the original script it just said no. And we just decided, why have just there be one single word in the script, because everything else we just kind of wanted to be solitary and patient, and we considered that the smaller girl seems like quite feral and probably wouldn't speak or not speak any language that they would share with the older girl. So yeah, we basically just thought there's no point in them talking to each other, because they probably wouldn't be understood, not just in a language way, but also it's to drive a further wedge between them, that they can't be on the same page, basically. But yeah, as I say, there was originally just one spoken word in the script, and that got taken out fairly early on when we realized it was the only one.
Oh, wonderful. And thank you for sharing it with us. Such creativity. So you're on the festival circuit now?
Yeah, so I just got back last week from Holly Shorts on Hollywood Boulevard. And
Yes, I'm here, and I'm sorry that we didn't get to meet there. I guess our paths crossed somewhere at Hollywood and Highland, but
somewhere, it's
yeah.
a really busy week, because I was also trying my best, because it's the first time I've ever been to LA. I was trying to
Ah,
be a tourist as well as like being around the festival as a filmmaker and that. But I also have a few friends in LA, and because I've never been there before, I've never met
yes,
them
sir.
on their home turf, and it was nice to get to do that now. But yeah, it's a wonderful place that I do need to go back to many times again, I know.
Well, I hope so. Well, at least we have this this Zoom that we can meet at least and
Sure.
and do the interview. And I appreciate your time. So how can our viewers and our readers find you and see what you're up to? If you're doing some, you thinking about something new?
I'm always thinking about new stuff. So I am currently writing and researching for a number of projects. The one that everyone's most interested in at the moment is that I do have a feature that I'm working on for Villain, which is effectively the story is not just an expanded version of the short. It is actually a sequel to the events of the short. So at the end of making the short, the question that I kept asking myself, and I hope other people are asking, otherwise what's the point? But was what happens next?
Sure.
And then I started thinking about what could happen next, and I realized that there's actually quite a lot of story and consequences to everything that happens in the short. So yeah, I'm working on a way to expand the world outside of the cave and what would happen once they do leave the cave, and where they go, and how people who they run into and how those people react to them. Again, just about perspective and different experiences. And beyond that, I've got a much more down-to-earth story, which I'm hoping to get kind of finished sometime before the end of this year, which is basically we're calling it Piano Man. It is a script based on a true story of something that was in the news for about like 6 weeks back in 2006 and was everywhere, and then it just disappeared. And it was basically about this young man who just seemingly washed up ashore on the east coast of England in just a tiny little seaside town, wearing a full dinner suit and absolutely catatonic, would not speak, and wouldn't communicate with everyone. So he ended up being institutionalized while people tried to help him, and while they tried to get him to write down maybe information, he drew a piano. So they took him to a piano and he started playing it.
Oh, wonderful.
And then suddenly there was an attempt to find him put out in the press, and he then kind of got world famous as this mysterious piano man that no one knows who he is, and loads of false claims came forth about who he might be. And yeah, and to be honest though, the story that I've got in mind is not of that person themselves. It's basically someone who was attached to that event, say a caseworker, who is going through their own kind of midlife crisis and questioning their self-worth, and then suddenly this patient in their care gets suddenly world famous and they're close to it, so they make themselves feel good about it. And then when all of that glory fades, then he has to reckon with his own shortcomings as well. So
interesting. Cool. All right. Nice. So how you're on social media, obviously.
So in terms of social media, I think I'm most active on Instagram, and I'm just starting to use Threads as well quite a lot, which for both of them I am on there as Tehnsuko, my surname, Tehnsuko. Okay. Stuff about Villain is also at Villain the Film on every platform, and that includes Twitter or X or whatever it's being called now.
Okay.
And I think Facebook's the only one I'm not on anymore. I went off it a while ago and just haven't gone back on, but sorry.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you for your time. We're the Hollywood Times today, and our YouTube is the Hollywood Times Official. So I will send you the review and with the little clip of our interview here. And I do again appreciate your time, and the creativity of this film is amazing.
I really appreciate you saying that. That's
yeah,
really good.
Absolutely. Keep up the great work, and I hope one day we can meet in person.
Yeah.
Next time you're in Los Angeles, Hollywood.
I'll be there.
Thanks again, Sparky.
All right. Thanks.
Bye-bye.